tonight. Beating the burglars, where do we draw the line?
I grabbed a knife in my own house, but I don't understand how my actions can be deemed anything but someone protecting their daughter in their home.
Homeowners under attack, but fighting back.
Did you have a clear thought process when you pulled the trigger?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Kill him.
Good evening and welcome to the Tonight programme with me, Julie Etchingham. Few of us can predict how we would react if confronted with an intruder in our home. But since Munir Hussain was found guilty of attacking and seriously injuring an intruder, a debate has ignited about how far you can go to defend your property and your family. Morland Sanders has been looking at the issues.
He got what he deserved, to be honest. If he's going to break into your house and terrorise your family, he should accept that they're going to fight back.
The businessman who was sent to jail for attacking a burglar with a cricket bat was set free today on the orders of the appeal court, his sentence suspended.
Munir Hussain walked free from prison 15 days ago, yet he remains a convicted criminal for attacking one of the men who broke into his home and terrorised his family. The case has sparked a furious debate about how far you can go in defending your family and your home.
The judge is actually seeing some common sense.
This man is being made an example of.
They should never have gone to court, let alone him going to prison. I fully sympathise with the chap, and I would have done exactly the same thing.
To the jury, his behaviour was criminal. To his son, it was nothing short of heroic.
I don't ever think our family will get over it. And, I just hope, other people, other families have people like my dad.
It is one of your worst nightmares. You come home or wake up to find a burglar in your house. What are you going to do? Do you run? Do you fight? Well, one thing you probably don't do is ponder how far will the law allow me to go. That didn't seem to cross the mind of Munir Hussain when he chased one of the intruders out of his house, down the road, and meted out revenge. He and his family had been subjected to a terrifying ordeal. But did that justify Hussain's attack?
The attack was so severe that it left the intruder with brain damage. Hussain was originally sentenced to 2.5 years in jail. His brother Takir remains in prison for his part in the attack. But the intruder has yet to face trial because he was not fit to plead. Now there are calls for the law to be changed.
I think the law needs to give people a comfort zone that says, actually, this wasn't the cold light of day, and unless they acted in a way that was absurdly over the top, then actually prosecution shouldn't really even be a question.
To examine in detail how the law works, we've reconstructed the key events in the Munir Hussain case based on court evidence. It was around 11 o'clock on the 3rd of September 2008 when Munir Hussain and his sons returned home from the mosque.
What happened to the security light?
They noticed that a security light wasn't working. Unbeknown to them, their every move was being watched. Munir Hussain and his sons were ambushed by a gang armed with knives and taken hostage in their own home.
Get on the floor! Get on the floor! Get out!
Hussain was punched and his wife was threatened. The horror was just starting for the Hussain family. But what would you do at this point? How far would you go to free your family from armed intruders? The law states that you can use reasonable force according to the circumstances.
You haven't got time to make a rational decision. You react in the way you feel is best for yourself at the time, and you will be looked at in that light. If you're a victim in a house and you've got some unpleasant person attacking, you haven't got to wait to be hit first. You can hit first.
But does anyone consider these legal niceties when face-to-face with a burglar? Television presenter Mylene Klass admits she didn't stop to think for a second when two men appeared in her garden.
Something that will never leave me for the rest of my life, because it was one of the most petrifying things I've ever seen, was the shadow of a man just creep across my kitchen. I jumped up. Right behind me was the bread bin, and next to the bread bin are all my kitchen knives. And as I jumped up, phone in one hand, a knife in the other hand, didn't necessarily know what I was going to see. I knew for sure there'd be one man, but I didn't expect to see two men, and there was two men standing at my patio doors.
On grabbing the knife, Mylene charged towards the patio doors and threatened the intruders. They ran away immediately.
I ran around the house after that, still holding my knife. I didn't know if I was going to find anybody else in the house. I didn't know if they'd got into the house. You don't know. It's afterwards, hindsight, well, you can realise that maybe you were overreacting, but were you?
This is the first time Mylene has spoken about the incident. She claims that the police advised her at the time that she should not have used the knife to threaten the intruders.
I'm perplexed by the whole thing. I still can't understand why my actions are deemed wrong. How can that be? I had two people in my garden that had no right to be here who were clearly burgling the place. And I grabbed a knife in my own house. I didn't run out of the door. I didn't chase after them per se, out the house, if you like, through the house perhaps. But I don't understand how my actions can be deemed anything but the actions of someone protecting their daughter in their home.
Mylene admits that she now sleeps with a baseball bat next to her bed, but she's confused about how far she can go to protect her home. So she's meeting former detective Mark Williams-Thomas.
Hello.
Hi, Mylene. You well?
Yeah, I'm very well. How are you?
Yes, very good.
Come on in. Well, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming over.
No problem. It's been a bit stressful, hasn't it?
It has been a little bit, quite eventful. But the reason I wanted to talk to you is you are the authority on these things. You can maybe just steer me in the right direction and just clear up a lot of the confusion as to what you can do when you're in your house to protect yourself.
Well, I think the most important thing to remember, first of all, is that it's your house. You know, you have to be in your house and you have to feel safe, and you have to feel safe not just for yourself but for the rest of your family. So whatever action you take, as long as it's proportionate, as long as it's immediate, has to be to keep yourself safe. And I believe the action that you took to defend yourself was totally appropriate.
So looking around this kitchen, I was in my kitchen, there is nothing in here that you would deem unreasonable or not appropriate?
No, because I think they're working utensils, they're working implements that you've got within your house. You know, here we are, set of knives. If somebody comes in through here now, the first thing you're going to pick up is probably a knife. You might pick up that stand, but most likely you're going to pick up a knife. And then you're going to threaten them with the knife.
For me, I have to tell you now, I wouldn't be able to rationalise and process those rules that you've just said to me. I know how frightened I was. I also know where the adrenaline was, and on a scale of 1 to 10 it was an 11. All I could think about was my daughter and myself alone in the house. And so you're saying that people have to react within these rules. Is that fair? Well,
I think it is, because I do think, Mylene, I know, I accept fully you're saying, you know, you were totally stressed and it was a very, very uncomfortable situation. But I also believe that your reaction would have been to a limit of saying, well, actually, I've now stopped that immediacy. I'm not going to continue hurting the person beyond that.
Hertfordshire Police say they fully support the right of householders to defend themselves, their property and their family again. Not tell her that picking up the knife to defend herself was wrong. This law looks set to be an issue in the general election. The Conservatives claim that a householder is attacked in their homes every 30 minutes. They plan to change the legislation so that no one will be prosecuted for taking on a burglar unless they use grossly disproportionate force.
The law at the moment says you can use reasonable force. What it doesn't allow for, I don't think, is the heat of the moment. And it's not so much about what the courts decide, it's actually about whether people should even get into the legal process in the first place. There are plenty of lawyers who say, let the courts judge, the trial can decide what's right and what's wrong. I don't want people going through a year's trauma, waiting for a trial, the possibility of going to jail, the possibility of losing their job, possibility of losing their home, where they've actually been looking after their family.
The government insists that the law is correct as it stands, and the Liberal Democrats agree. But what does the British public think? Well, we've commissioned a poll which revealed that 84% of the population believe the law is currently biased on the side of the burglars. Yet many in the legal profession say it's just right as it is.
I haven't met a single barrister who does a good deal of criminal work who would support that new view. And it's very difficult to sustain, because I think even on one, as I say, even on one meaning of it, you could make it much more difficult. Why not keep a formula which has worked and is working well and has done so for hundreds of years?
But that same formula found Munir Hussain guilty of grievous bodily harm and sent him to prison for 2.5 years. Though he's now been freed on appeal, his supporters say he should never have been jailed in the first place, bearing in mind the horrific situation that he and his family found themselves in. Let's look now at how events spiralled out of control at Munir Hussain's house. The family were forced to crawl from room to room under constant threats from the gang. At one point, Munir Hussain's daughter walked in to find her family tied up. She was thrown to the floor.
This is the worst that could happen to anyone. In the safety of your own home, he's within the boundaries of his own home. And then to be attacked at night by masked burglars. It's a nightmare situation. It's what horror films are made of, you know.
It's this extraordinary experience which makes the Munir Hussain case so unusual. It's one thing to come face to face with a burglar, but quite another to be held hostage. Most burglaries are carried out by opportunists, as this man knows only too well. As a teenager, Richard Taylor was a thief and drug addict. He now runs Victory Outreach UK, a charity which helps ex-offenders.
Well, the burglar is after one thing. He's after cash, jewellery, credit cards, anything where he can get a quick transfer into cash so he can purchase drugs. That's all he's after. And really, he's not after confrontation. No burglar, especially an opportunist as I was, would burgle a house and look for confrontation. You don't want that. That's why most burglaries are committed when people are out.
But Mark Edwards certainly had no idea what was going through the minds of the 3 masked men who broke into his house.
Coming through the back window, we didn't hear them. They cleared out down here and come upstairs for more. He was just asleep. And it's till my daughter started shouting about there's a man with a gun, and then the wife saying he's got a gun. We don't know if there was 3, 4 or 5 of them.
Mark had both of his legs amputated 10 years ago after contracting a rare disease. Yet he was still able to fight back. His son, who used to work in game shooting, owned a shotgun. Mark got hold of it and took aim.
You don't even think, you're just going to, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's just rage takes over, isn't it? I mean, they're hitting me, my wife's screaming saying, leave him alone. I've got no legs. I've climbed out the bed and I've gone along on me bare, no clothes on at all, you know. Ended up on the top of the stairs and shooting at one of them. That's all I could do to defend my family.
Mark's shot missed the burglars, but scared them off. More than 3 years later, he's still haunted by what happened.
Did you have a clear thought process when you took that gun and you pulled the trigger?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Kill him. Outright. I would have shot him dead. That was it. Full stop. They come into my house. They come in with guns. I'm one of the lucky ones that there was a gun in this house to retaliate. I don't know what damage they'd done. I didn't even see my sons until